I'd like to describe the reward pathway aspect of addiction to you. One way to think about the brain is you can take your hand here and you can hold it up and see this part right here. That's kind of like your hindbrain, it's referred to, the older part of your brain. This can be thought of as your amygdala, the middle part of your brain here. Then you can take your fingers and wrap it over, and that's the prefrontal cortex, kind of like that. So this area here is where, sometimes it's referred to as the lizard brain. That's where things like your breathing and your heartbeat reside. So, you can think about breathing, but you can't stop yourself from breathing. The prefrontal area up here is kind of where our higher logic lies. That's where we solve problems. That's where our emotions are, things of that nature. So part of the reason we have this lower part of our brain, and it being the older aspect of the brain, is when we're under stress, when we have that fight or flight response. This part can override our emotion and higher thinking part. We want that. So, for instance, if you're walking down the street and you hear a car coming up from behind you and you get startled and jump out of the way, you wouldn't want to stop and say, I think I hear something. Maybe I should think about this. I wonder what I should do. Because you're going to get hit by the car. So we don't want that to happen. So the way our body works is this part of the brain really kind of takes over our logic aspect. And this older part of our brain is where addiction lies. And you can kind of think about it in some regards that your body kind of ends up equating, it gets a little confused, it ends up equating addiction like breathing. And your logic center, your prefrontal cortex up here, it can't tell your body to stop breathing. Just like it can't tell someone who is in active addiction to stop using. So, some of the things we try to do is cease the use and have it stop long enough so that your prefrontal cortex up here can gain control, so we can rebalance this. You can kind of think of addiction in some regards neurologically as this balancing act of which part of the brain is kind of controlling the brain. When addiction is in an active acute phase, especially, that prefrontal cortex is offline, and the hindbrain is running the show. And when we stop using long enough and we let that prefrontal cortex come back online, that's when we're able to move into stable recovery. Any questions?